Hello and welcome to my video. So in this video I'll be throwing some plates. So this is actually another requirement project for my Ceramics 2 class, which has currently ended, but I wanted to talk about how I threw these plates for the class. So we had to throw 4 plates, and then one of them had to be a sculpture plate. The sculpture plate I had made a separate video on. That was just a plate that had to have some sort of sculptural element to it, meaning like an addition or like a sculpture onto it, and I made a steampunked clock, which that's in a different video, but in this video I'm just going to be wheel throwing some plates, and wheel throwing the plate that I sculpted on anyways, the sculpture plate. So I'm starting off here with a lot of clay. When you're throwing plates, you want to start off with a lot more clay than you would think, just because you trim off a lot of clay on the trimming process. That's mostly because you can't really throw a plate and then not trim it, because it's normally has to have some thickness in order to not collapse on the wheel. So one trouble that I had, a lot of troubles I had with these plates, is just that they were too thin. I'd thrown them, a lot of them, too thin, overestimating how much clay that I actually had. And so when I went to go trim them, I did trim through one of the plates, which you'll see later, and then I just made them too big, and it kind of bit me in the butt later where I couldn't add a foot onto the plates, and it was not great. Another trouble I had is you can see here that I had made a slab of clay on the wheel, and then I had put the bat on top of the clay. That was just because I didn't have the bat pins to put inside the wheel. They were too short. I had the short bat pins. I wasn't sure where the bigger ones were at the time. And I was doing my plates a little bit ahead of time, so I had just thrown a slab, which is totally fine. The only problem was I hadn't taken account that the bat wasn't completely level. It wasn't completely level to the wheel, and so that's really bad, because when I was throwing, it was all centered. But then when I flipped the plate upside down, the bottom had an elevated, the right side of the plate would be elevated, and then it would make the wheel really off-centered when I was trimming later, which was a really bad thing, because I ended up having to scrap a few plates because of that. It just made me have to trim off a lot more than I wanted, and even with these plates being thin, it made me scrap them. So hopefully that made a little sense, but basically what I'm doing here is I'm just throwing a bunch of plates. I think I ended up doing this in the same day. I think I threw like 4 plates in a day. They were pretty easy to throw, but it was just the trimming process really just got them, like, I don't know, the trimming process was a struggle, so I didn't really get to keep all these plates. Then I went ahead and I threw a really basic plate with no rim, no special things, and this is the plate that I did my sculpture on. And like I mentioned, I did a steampunked clock. A short story about that. We had to do a sculpture plate, like I mentioned, and it had to be some sort of sculptural element. And I thought that my class was going to end up doing like big sculptures or anything cool on their plates. And I came in for the critique, and I was honestly one of the only ones that had a sculpture plate. Everyone else had done like some texture on their plate or anything like that. It was pretty small, but I had done a lot. I put a lot of time into my sculpture plate, so I'm proud of that plate. These other plates that I have here that are very simple and basic, I'm not so proud of. Honestly, I think I can do a little bit better. I just think that they're some of them are too thick, some of them just didn't survive and just cracked, which you'll see later. So I definitely have to go back and do plates again, because and improve, because I think they were kind of my weak point, and I think that's okay to say, because I can definitely improve on plates. I just think that some of them I didn't add a foot because they were so thin, like I had mentioned, and the trimming process was just miserable because they were too wet. Now, plates weren't all that bad. I did really like the end results of the ones that I got, but as you can see here, this is where the plate, I just trimmed right through the plate, and it was kind of disappointing, so I had to throw that away, that plate. So I think I lost 2 plates in total during this project. I think I only made like 4 or 5. No, yeah, maybe 5, not counting the sculpture plate. And as you can see here, I'm finally had one plate that was thick enough to trim the bottom, add a foot. Although it wasn't my favorite plate, but like I said, I'll get better, and I'll add some better textures and better forms. Funnier story is that our teacher actually gave us a piece of paper that had said we had to do a sculpture plate and a textured plate. So everyone in the class had done a textured plate, and then we did a sculpture plate. And the sculpture plate and the texture plate was actually the same thing. So it was kind of a typo on the project assignment, but that's kind of funny. Anyways, so this is the final project, and as you can see here, this one just completely cracked. So it was kind of satisfying. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.